Okay, there we go. Great. Good morning. So again, I was just mentioning, sorry for the quality of the last video with as we said here, the striking silhouette of yours truly. And some people might say, well, actually, that's an improvement, whatever. So anyhow, yeah, so I actually like doing the last class, which was on giving. The notes I had, when I was looking through them, I was like, wow, there's some good material here, and I enjoyed doing it. And so I just got back from Australia yesterday, so my head's a little bit fuzzy, but so hopefully it won't be too jet lagged, and we can do a decent class today. So just quickly, just before we get started here, this is the last class formal presentation anyway on the four opponent powers, and so we'll do this today. I'm going to be back in Nelson, BC in about a week's time. I've got 3 more flights, and then so actually let me just look at the schedule quickly. Yeah, so I won't be doing a live class next week. I actually get back from Tokyo that morning, but so on the 24th, but I drive back to Nelson on the 25th. So the following week on the 1st I will, and that will be a question answer, live question answer, where we just go through all the material. So this week when I'm away, I'm just going to record a class where I'm just going to have a little shorter class. I'm just going to do a review of the material. You don't have to listen to the class if you don't want, because it's the same stuff, but I'm just going to sort of sum up and give a little bit of a presentation of everything we've gone through in the last 8 classes. And I don't do this usually. I think I'll probably just do this for Diamond Cutter and Karma, these 2 courses. And the reason being is that there's a lot of material, and I just think it's relevant. Like, sometimes you're teaching on stuff and whatever, it might not be so practical, relevant, but I just find with this stuff, on karma, all the different lists, and just try and sum it up and make it digestible, because this stuff's so practical and helpful and relevant. And like I say, these 2 courses on karma and emptiness, this is in a lot of ways your toolbox, right? We got your hammer, your drill, your nails, your screwdriver, everything else. So it's nice. I just kind of left all the tools all over the floor. They always say to clean up after a job when you're contracting, right? So you're going to walk in and say, oh my God, where's all the tools? Where's everything? So I just want to sort of put everything together in the little toolbox so you guys know where to find it. Okay, so then, so I said, I'll do that this week. And then when I get back, so on the 1st, we will do a live question and answer if you guys want to sort of you want to attend it and just have some, like I say, some questions or want to discuss about karma. And then the following week, I'm going to be in retreat for a month, but I will have live classes anyway for an hour, because it's good to meditate. It's just a Mahamudra retreat that I'm doing, and I really want to continue going, and it's inspiring for me to do the work here with you guys. So the next class or course will be on Diamond Cutter Sutra, which I absolutely love. So that's that. So how about we get started here and with the Heart Sutra, and we'll get started with meditating. Okay, homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir on Mass Vulture's Mountain. They had the great assembly of monks and nuns and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also at the 5 aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also at the 5 aggregates being empty and inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form, and form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no element, so forth up to no mentality element, also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing on or beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly 3 times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, and surpassed mantra, equal to the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata Gada Gada Paragata Parasamgati Buddhi Soha. Shariputra Bodhisattva, great beings should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose in that concentration, said to Srivauchvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being that he spoken well. Good, good, O son of Linjans, like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, Srivauchvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, an entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, great. And we'll do our 9-point breathing. So same thing, I do want to test a little bit. If you want, you can close your nostrils when you do it. Again, I'm just sort of in this little bit of a kick where I'm just visualizing it, just sort of trying to feel the sensation of inhaling and exhaling both nostrils just by focusing my mind on them. So you can join me that way if you'd like. So again, inhaling through the left 3 times and out the right 3 times, getting rid of desires attachment. Reversing that 3 times through the right, out through the left, getting rid of anger and reactivity. And 3 deep breaths in and out through both nostrils, and finally holding the last retention at the navel, and then releasing. Okay. So great. Let's just get started with our meditation here. So let's turning my phone off so I don't start getting all the crazy notifications there bugging us. Let's start with just visualizing ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings, and then we'll do sort of more simplified refuge visualization today, just a bit of Shakyamuni. So let's start with ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. Again, our sort of classic thing of visualizing ourselves in a wide open space, sitting on a ground like lapis, just like a beautiful open field. And then the concentric circles outward from the people closest to us to more sort of people we're and beings we're indifferent to and unaware of, and sort of, I guess sort of less we're all connected, but sort of less connected to, I guess, in terms of intimacy. So starting with people closest to us, our mother on our left, our father on our right, people we love the most behind us as support, and people we love the least as objects of our care, compassion, prayers, and meditation. And from there, we can move out to people from all over the world. Yeah, so human beings from all different countries and cultures, animals from all different ecosystems from all over the world, from the smallest to the biggest. Just all sort of living system of planet Earth here with us. And the spirit world, which is just as large and as varied. So we can just think of the whole spirit world with all its different dimensions, like elemental planes, ethereal planes, astral planes, so forth. Even different parallel universes or different logical universes, just basically kind of like the whole universe is here with us. Gods and demigods, other celestial beings, and then countless sentient beings in lower states of rebirth, suffering in hungry ghost and hell being, sort of hell realms, different hell beings there. And we're all together like one big family here. Yeah, beautiful sky, clear sky above us, like a beautiful blue dome. And it in the sky, we're going to visualize just today, just a little bit more simpler as our last class here. We're just going to focus on visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni. So again, just like a clear summer day, let's say in July, and you've got beautiful blue sky, no clouds, and then huge, beautiful hot sun. Or if you'd like just another, just by analogy or beautiful metaphor, this time of year, of course, it's towards the end of September, and here in Vancouver, it's gorgeous. Yesterday was a gorgeous fall day. So I always, this time of year, you have a nice harvest moon as we go more into the metal element time of sort of withdrawing inwards, reflective time of the fall. So Buddha Shakyamuni, like a big sun or moon here, is in the sky, and we can have him on a white square lion throne, and on it a multicolored lotus, 1,000-petaled lotus, and on that a flat white moon disk. On top of that, a sort of yellow or sun disk, and he has beautiful golden energy body in lotus position, wearing 3 robes of a monk, and he's meditating. And he has a begging bowl of medicinal nectar in his left hand, and right hand is in the subduing mudra, touching the earth. Beautiful sun. And then at his heart, his higher angelic form, Vajradhara, Conqueror Vajradhara, and Vajradhatu Ishvari, sort of yin and yang of divine couple in sexual embrace. And they're young, they say like 16 years old, but I've heard one person, it was very funny, saying, they're young, 20 years old or 23 years old, making them a little older for our culture. And they're just the archetypes, so whatever you want, however you want to see it. So they're young and beautiful in sexual embrace, and they have sapphire blue bodies, sort of a dark blue bodies made out of lighter energy, with crowns and beautiful jewelry and so forth. And Vajradhara is in lotus position. He's holding a beautiful bell in his left hand, Dorje or Vajra scepter in his right. And she's got Vajradhatu Ishvari straddling him with her arms around his neck. Curved knife here, Drigu knife, cleaver, and the skull cup and medicinal nectar in her left. And a beautiful hum letter, HUM, or the Sanskrit or Tibetan stylized letter, if you like, representing the Dharmakaya and enlightened mind held between them at heart level. And this is emanating the 5 colored lights of the 5 elements, or 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So white, green, blue, yellow, and red. So beautiful sort of a soft golden light coming down like sunlight for us and all sentient beings. As we take refuge, I and all sentient beings to enlighten their both refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to enlighten their both refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to enlighten their both refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. And through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So again, orientating or taking refuge, or leaning or remaining our main focus on the 3 jewels. In particular, the Dharma jewel of teachings of karma and emptiness, that's our refuge, and then setting our intention here for why we're doing this practice together today, which is bodhicitta. Everything we're doing, may it be for the awakening of all sentient beings. May we become enlightened, that once we're at that holy state, we lead all sentient beings to that same state. Our big focus then is helping everyone else become just like us. So once we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, again, helping us do this, again, from the hearts of the divine couple there, Vajradhar and Vajradheshvari, beautiful white lights coming down. It's just from the Hum letter there. First is purifying us, just sort of like a soft moonlight. And for us, in sort of the center here, just the little meditation leaders of all sentient beings, beautiful white nectar as well as coming down, just like milk. So if you got pouring a carton of milk in the air into the glass, same kind of thing, that's all going to go into us, purifying us. It's like sort of a really strong solvent or cleaner, flushing out all of our negativities, obscurations, obstructions from our body, speech, and mind, our body, our subtle body or soul body, spirit body, and our mind all getting cleansed, and everything getting flushed out the bottom of our body, like soot or dirt, garbage, whatever, and we become crystal clear and clean. That's all sentient beings. So we're just like a whole plane of crystals or diamonds here, us and all sentient beings, all cleaned out. So we're all little crystals, a field of crystals, and then Buddhist Shakyamuni is like a gold globe in the sky here. And we're both reflecting each other. Now golden light and nectar comes down, and empowerment energy, bring us up the vibrational level here, giving us compassion, wisdom, and power, all Buddhist teachings going into us. Sentient beings, all glowing gold, all of us. As we continue visualizing this, just again, we're downloading the four measurables now: love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So wanting all beings to be happy, wanting them not to suffer, wanting them the happiness of enlightenment, and that sort of positive power, spiritual power of joy. And we can just think of, I always do a real strong Nietzschean reading of joy, as you can tell, or sort of a Greek reading of that, just switching from sort of a reactive to affirmative mindset or living. So we can just imagine if you're having a bad day and you're really down and really negative and really, I don't know, just like super depressed or angry or just like whatever. And then all of a sudden you get some good news that just completely blows you and cheers you up. Like, let's say you thought something didn't work. You didn't get something in your life, or there's some problem. And then all of a sudden someone comes over to tell you, oh my God, it did work out. And you're like, oh my God, wow, I can't believe that's impossible. Oh my God, wow, Like, let's say you have cancer, you're gonna die in a week. No, they just made a mistake. It was just someone's thumbprint on the on the screen or whatever, and that's not a tumor. You're not gonna die in a week. Actually, you got a completely full bill of health, and you're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. I can't believe it. And then there's that instant switch off where your heart opens and you're like super happy. And then your friend's like, okay, let's celebrate. Let's go out for brunch. You're like, right on, man, let's do it. And just that kind of a feeling of joy, where it's just like everything in the world is good, everything's shining, you love everybody, skipping down the sidewalk going, oh my God, I'm just like in such a good mood. So that's the kind of affirmation we're talking about here. And so when you're enlightened, you're always in that state. And wouldn't it be nice if we're all in that state, if all sentient beings have that kind of joy, from little earthworms all the way up to people, just everyone's in that state of pure affirmation. And then the equanimity is the temperance, where we're not like totally blissed out, but actually we're super grounded in that state. So again, neither sort of tending towards, again, beyond sort of, hope and fear, beyond anger and attachment here. We're sort of in this grounded balance, moderation, temperance, warm, open, friendly, happy attitude, where all that happiness is just like properly contained at the same time shining out. So you're not like totally extreme, like you're on drugs, like, woo, you're just like, wow, totally grounded. A beautiful light shining. So anyway, that's a long explanation of four measurables. Sorry, but just all that beautiful energy is being transferred of four measurables from the Buddhas into us, and then we're shining that all out to all sentient beings here: love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Seven limb practice here. So first of all, prostration, showing respect. And we visualize ourselves prostrating to Buddha Shakyamuni here. In our minds, all sentient beings, singing praises, mantras, sunshine of deep, deep love, respect for the sacred here within Buddha and within ourselves. Now, offering, just I always offer flowers, but we can offer lamps. Today, light offering, just like all the we see in Nepal or Tibet or these places when they have all the butter lamp offerings, let's say for Vesak or for Lunar New Year's or whatever, around Bodhana Stupa or so forth, or just Japanese lantern ceremony. I think we do that in Thailand as well, or just beautiful candles in all directions. So we can just visualize sort of offering millions and billions of candles or butter lamps or lights. So just imagine that we set up billions of gas lamps here. Now it sounds like it's all going to explode, but just let's say it doesn't explode, but we just have a little lighter and everything starts catching. And so we have all these candles as far as the eye can see in our mind, representing wisdom and Dharmakaya awareness. And we're offering this up to Buddhas. Confession and rejoicing. And we stand here naked before Buddha Shakyamuni and all of our peers as sentient beings, and we are flawed and have all bad character flaws and issues and stuff, and they're all karmically driven, which is the result of delusion and bad habits or previous actions. And so, just like Jesus says on the cross, forgive them, Father God, they don't know what they're doing. Literally, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know karma and emptiness for countless past lives. We're just pursuing our own happiness, running around blind, bumping into things, being total idiots, hurting others, hurting ourselves. And so we just declare all that. It's like, yeah, okay, now we're trying to change that. We're trying to wake up here and let all that go and outgrow that. And rejoicing, just say we're slowly making progress here, and rejoicing in all the wonderful things other people do, all the wonderful qualities and actions of the Buddhas and so forth. And we want to do more of that. And asking Buddhas, holy beings, to stay and to teach. So holding up a white square lion throne, sending that up, dissolves into Buddha. Please stay with us, always be here with us in our lives, all holy beings, all light beings, all of our gurus, all the angels. So that's just not unlocking the door to our heart, it's keeping the door open. So please come in anytime and visit us. Please bless us. We don't want the door locked, or we don't even want it closed. We want that open all the time. So we're opening our hearts up here. And then the golden eight-spoked Dharma chakra we send up, and dissolves into Buddha's throne too, is always continuing to guide us and to teach us, showing us the path to enlightenment. And then dedicating all of our virtues, everything we're doing today, any good thing I do, let's all just gather it together and send it off towards the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Don't waste it on T.S. Eliot, like I've measured my life in coffee spoons. Don't just measure just our lives just in all pleasant experiences and comfortable things that just get burned out or used up like a karmic consumer. Take all that positive energy and we're putting it towards a spiritual goal here, which is the enlightenment or awakening of all beings. Okay. Candle at our heart, last offering here. Sprinkled with perfume, spread with flowers, a great mountain, foreland, sun, and moon. See this at the land and off with us. And all beings enjoy such pure lands. Purified universe at our heart here. Send out. Support this jewel of man to you, precious gurus. And with that, the circle of giving or reciprocity is complete. We make all these offerings and open our heart, and then all the energy, the blessing energy, starts to come down. Again, golden light from Buddha's heart here. It's sunlight, all directions coming into us. And sentient beings here. So again, so the shamanic circle of reciprocity of offering and blessing here. We're just offering up and receiving energy blessing. It's just like a water wheel going around and around. Constantly making offerings, just like class last week, where we just see the main karmic good thing to do is to give to all sentient beings, make tons of offerings to all holy beings. And then all that positive energy, blessing energy, flows back into us, just like in a circle. And at the same time, rather than our negative karmic circle, where we're always like the course code drilling it in with our selfishness, being suffering, feeling guilty, feeling angry, feeling resentful, feeling reactive, which makes us more negative, doing more negative things, and spiral, works for going in deeper and deeper and deeper into samsara. This is sort of a spiraling out of samsara here through our giving and through blessing. Like Jacob's ladder, we're just going up and up and up and up and into the Pure Lands here. So just beautiful sunlight, positive energy going into our bodies here. And with this, we say, please grant us your blessings. Please dissolve into our hearts here and to bless us, teach us, and guide us. So then Buddha Shakti starts to get really, really small and dissolving into golden light. He dissolves sort of inward into his heart, into the divine couple, Vajradhan, Vajradhatu, Ishvari. And they become like a little blue diamond in the sky there. And the blue diamond comes down to the crown of our head here. They're about the size of a sunflower seed, like a little jewel, a little piece of lapis or blue sapphire. And they took the crown of our head and out of lighter energy, so they just sort of pass through us here. They go in, down, ascend in our central channel in front of our spine to our heart. And this melt into our heart here. Just feel that all the love, wisdom, and power and compassion of all the Buddhas goes directly into us. All holy beings sort of get directly injected into us. Our mind and their minds become one. Great joy, great bliss, sense of peace, totality, connection, oneness, and at the same time, positive power, creativity, affirmation here. So space and light, just think about it. It's coming out of meditation here. Okay. So those are the words of today here, just like Sesame Street or something, space and light. Mix those two together. So that's there's a great I don't know which book it's in. I'd have to see from Trungpa Rinpoche, and I just have it in an old Shambhala Sun magazine where he's going showing the unity of two approaches of Vipassana meditation on the emptiness of the mind. Of course, the Dzogchen Great Completeness as well as Mahamudra, and this is a very Kagyu style tradition of teaching these two together, right, from third Karmapa, Ranjing Dorje. And the metaphor that, or I guess you could say analogy, that Trungpa Rinpoche uses that I really like is he said, well, if we're focusing one on sort of comparing the mind to space and seeing it that way, more the Dzogchen approach, or if we're meditating on thoughts and feelings changing as a flow, Mahamudra approach, he said they both go together like making tea. So the space is like hot water, all the thoughts and energies are like the leaves, and we put these together and you have tea. And I thought, wow, that's a great analogy. So light, of course, being energy or thoughts or feelings, the whole sort of transcendental sphere of awareness, so to speak. And then spaciousness being, of course, just sort of that part of the mind, emptiness of the mind. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. That just sort of came to me right now during the meditation. Okay, great. So yes, our last class for presentation here of the course on karma for Abhidharma Kosha, Asian Classic Institute, course number 5. And yes, on karma here. So this particular class is on the 4 opponent powers, or the 4 forces for karmic purification. So this is an important class. This might be one of the best I guess sort of instruction booklets you can get. So you know, my dad bought me, whatever, I don't know, 20 years ago, because he was at Rancho in Alberta, a Leatherman tool, right? That he said, always have this on you in your back pocket, your little Swiss Army knife, and whatever, whether there's a problem with your car or you have to take a nail out or something, wherever, you've always got this little thing. So as a Buddhist, the 4 opponent powers is something like this. Once you're taught this, this is probably not only the best tool that you can use, but probably just as important, really, in a lot of ways, all of our Dharma work, doing pujas or meditation or retreats, is basically this. So this is almost just like having a shower or eating or something. It's so central to your life and central to your practice. So anyway, there's a lot to say here, and of course this doesn't have to be exhaustive. I just want to, a lot of people here obviously have gotten teachings from Zasep Rinpoche over the years where he's talked about this, but any kind of Buddhist practice, really, when you think about it, contains these 4 things. And so what's kind of interesting is that we've talked a lot about karma on this course. And what happens is, it's just like this is the most important thing, because of all of our delusions and negative compositional actions, like all of our bad habits and character flaws and everything else. Whenever we're studying karma, it's kind of the boogeyman to get the little kids to bed, right? Is we're always studying the bad karma. And a lot of times we might not be stressing the good karma side of it. And of course, this is the problem. We're all suffering and we don't know why. We all have these sort of absurd lives and suffer so much, and then we die. So we have to focus on the bad karma. This is the thing when you read LamRim in the initial scope. Even before you get presentation on karma, you're introduced to the sufferings of the lower realm. So we all know all the stories of lamas coming over and teaching, and just like, oh my God, like I came here for all this positive hippie new age stuff, and all I'm doing is hearing about negative karma and lower rebirths and hells, and why is all this? Well, we're just focusing on this, the existential state we're in of suffering. And then what we have to see is like, that's the true sufferings. And then we're going to look for the true origins. And then we're, of course, we're presented the true cessations and true paths. So we've been going on about all this sort of negative karma and stuff and how karma works with that. So let's talk about, and then we sort of talked a little bit, of course, even with last week, I just tried to present sort of the positive side of it, where we're talking about how karma works in a positive sense, because karma is just action. It's just the movement of the mind. It's just, it's just, what are you putting in it? The mind's a sheer openness. What are you going to shovel into it? It's either good stuff or bad stuff. So all we're, for the most part, because of our self-cherishing, we're shoveling all the bad stuff. Talk about how to shovel the good stuff. Now, so it's kind of like what we're doing here is just with the 4 opponent powers is we're almost reverse engineering all of our bad stuff. In other words, we're showing, we've seen how bad stuff happens, how bad energy happens, our bad habits, our bad actions. And you can see where all the suffering's coming from. Now let's see how to basically use the psychic eraser to get rid of all this stuff. To see how these things arise, the mechanics of it, but also how to reprogram. How to get rid of all this bad karma. And that's what this is, sort of the more emancipatory message here is you're looking at, in the Zen way, the dirty mirror, right? Whatever you go, you haven't been to your cottage in 10 years, you go into the bathroom, you open it up, it's like, oh my God, disgusting. Let me get the Windex out and clean it out. And you get the mirror, it's like, wow, my beautiful antique mirror looks amazing. The 4 opponent powers is like this. So it is interesting because if you study more in Theravada traditions, it's a little bit of a different approach where they do tons of purification stuff. Not saying they don't do, but they don't, of course, teach the 4 opponent powers in the way it's taught this way. The key is that if you're planting negative karmic seeds, stop planting them. Number one, so don't do any more bad things. So use mindfulness, the 3 higher trainings of pure ethics, concentration, wisdom, realizing emptiness. Don't do any more bad things and overcome your sort of negative character that way. So through mindfulness, you'll do, and that's why it's a lot more strict in Theravada traditions. The whole ethical system comes number one, and people are just like hyper careful, because basically you've planted all bombs in your mind. Don't set them off. It's kind of like you're walking through a minefield, right? Like it's always in the war movies, they're walking, some guy dies, like, oh, we're in a minefield, oh my God. And then it's just like everyone has to go, and the one guy's crawling with a little knife, sort of going through the way of enlightenment. You're not going to set off all these karmic seeds. So if you're meditating emptiness and practicing shamatha, practicing awareness and mindfulness, there's less chance of you setting off these bombs or seeds that have already been planted in your mind. Once you're an arhat, you've disconnected. It's like the alarm bells are going to go off and explode. You basically disconnected the whole system or disconnected the bomb. It's not going to go off anymore, right? But all those seeds are still in your mind. And that's why you've only, from understanding enlightenment, you've only reached nirvana and not full Buddhahood. You've only overcome the obstacles to liberation. You've escaped samsara, but you don't see the two truths simultaneously. So you don't have omniscience. You're not a fully awakened Buddha. You're a saint or an arhat, which again is absolutely amazing. Let's all shoot for that. That's not like, oh, I don't want that. Like this is, we all kind of have to go through that anyway. You want liberation from samsara. But what we're talking about here at the 4 opponent powers is we're trying to get rid of those seeds. So it's the seeds, of course, in your mind, in the end, become an obstacle for you seeing the two truths simultaneously. So like Rinpoche says, like we talk about seeds, I guess you can say they're almost like computer programs, or like, it's kind of like the dispositional part in your mind towards bad thoughts and bad actions. So that's where you've got your yogurt container and you've had kimchi in it. Whatever, you eat all the kimchi, and then you put it and you wash it out, with the yogurt, and the yogurt container still stinks like kimchi, right? Even if it's nice and clean. Usually there's a red dye in the plastic, but you know what it's like, or garlic or something, your Tupperware still stinks. So those seeds are still in our minds. So the 4 opponent powers is about getting rid of those seeds, getting rid of that entirely. And we can do this anytime. And the more we do it, the more we're taking the psychic eraser and cleaning this out. And then it's easier to be good. It's easier to plant better seeds. Whatever you put in your mind is what you become, right? You are your actions, you are what you think. Your mind is a sheer openness. So it's a blank screen. What am I putting on it? So, it's like we have to, I shouldn't use the primer example because it's not like we're covering up paint, but you want to strip that down, basically. Like the mirror, we want to clean all that up. Anyway, that's sort of the prologue there. So what are the 4 opponent powers here? Number one, which is usually called sort of like the foundation force. There's different ways of labeling it. And they had the notes I have here, but I guess Michael said, which is really good, is the floor you push yourself up from when you fall. So the foundation is basic, it's the one that you have offended, in other words, living beings or Buddhas. The deepest meaning is taking refuge, ultimately, your understanding of karma and emptiness. When you fall, you get back up because you reassert your refuge. It's the understanding of what's happening. So this is almost like, there's Robert Mizrahi, one of my favorite French philosophers, about 100 years old now, who's just written on happiness. He's an incredible Spinoza scholar. He talked about the power of existential conversion. In other words, when the moment when you take control of your life, you see that your life is yours and you're living it, your actions are creating it. So he says it's like switching around. You're going the wrong direction, like this. The foundation force, at any moment you can do that. That's where you can sort of like start in the middle, so to speak. At any point you can restart. You can say, okay, purifying bad karma, like I'm stopping myself right here and going in a new direction. Instead of being negative, let's go in a positive direction and let's purify this negativity. And this is like, it's interesting. I always feel that that's the point. It's the point of the confessional point, the reflective point, where you're going from being sort of a passive person in your life, just like acting out all your habits or feeling like you're a victim, everything coming at you, to seeing that everything's coming from you, right? So this is the floor. So, the floor you push back, it's like, okay, stop. Let's change direction here. Let's purify. Let's have a positive. Been all reactive negative. Let's be positive today. And as a Buddhist, you get better and better at doing that. Like I had this just whatever, coming back from Australia, I'm like super overtired. I'm a day ahead and like in the plane. And I lied on the plane. I couldn't sleep. And I was just like super evil and negative. And just lying there. I'm like so overtired and depressed. I started going over everything. It's like, I'm so mad about like this. And at a certain point, I'm just lying there and just go, this is just me. Like I'm just overtired. Like they say in recovery, angry, what is it? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, right? So it's like the tired part, right? And I'm like, hey, this is just me. This is just me being evil. None of this is true. So foundation points, like, okay, foundation force. Let's turn this around. Okay. Let's purify this karma. Let's do this. So it's interesting what they say, that when you fall, you get back up. So just because you've fallen, this is where you don't have more the Judeo-Christian attitude of guilt. Why did I fall? I always fall. I'm destined to fall. I have no choice. I'm bad. It's this idea that my whole mind is empty. It's completely flexible or plastic. I can always restart. I can always be pure because it has no nature. I can always change and be free to turn it all around. So the best thing, like in a lot of ways, is asserting refuge. The real foundation force here is understanding emptiness and understanding karma, how they go together. That everything is blank, everything is neutral, everything is free, everything is revisable, right? You write your email, I don't like the email, I select it all, delete. The fact that I can do that means at foundation force, at any point I can do that. I realize that I can't, anything I can do that I can sort of restart on this. So really, that's what refuge is when you're thinking about it. When you say, I take refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, taking refuge to three jewels, ultimately, you're taking refuge in emptiness and karma. So I'm taking, that's the real strength when you think about it. I can always restart. I'm free. I can do anything here. Like it's really becoming an author of your life here. And that's just one sense of refuge. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. But I think that that's actually a real profound sense of refuge. So as Chenmo would say, you're falling, but there's no floor. You're not going to hit anything. So the floor you push up from when you fall to restart, ironically, there's no floor. So it's just, it looks like you're falling, and it's just like, wait a minute, I'm just an empty space, right? So, hey, I'm comfortable here in the sky, right? I'm just like Disney physics, where whatever Bugs Bunny can walk. Remember, they always walk out off the cliff and they keep walking, right? And then there's that one line where Bugs Bunny says, I know this violates the laws of physics, but I've never studied law. Do you remember that funny little quote? This is, emptiness is completely flexible, and I'm at home at emptiness. I can restart at any time. That's the real foundation force here. And again, the ethical component, why am I doing this in the first place? Well, because I've been hurting other beings. I've been hurting myself. Like I have to do this. I want to be a better person. I want to be happy. There's sort of an ethical responsibility here as well. So that's the first one, the foundation force. Second one is the destruction force, is looking at your bad actions, your delusions, your bad habits, and so forth. Rip the roots out. So this is sort of a regret, not a guilt, obviously, completely different. It's not about breaking laws and being punished. It's actually sort of more of the self-perfection route, where you're making a mistake and hurting yourself and hurting others because of the mistake. So you're stopping the mistake, and you're, like they say, ripping the roots out of the bad weeds, so to speak. So this is an intelligent, educated understanding that you've screwed up. You know that you will suffer from what you did, and why you will suffer from what you did, because you've just created the bad karma. Like, it's just basically, it's a causal action. You produced the wrong result that you were looking for, just a mistake. You've caused your future self suffering, and you regret it, right? So you can see this. I mean, it's whatever. So that's the destructive force. So we have the foundation force and we have the destructive force. Now, a lot of that, again, is just sort of getting clear on how karma works, right? And seeing that you've just basically made a mistake. And again, this comes with the reflective attitude, where you can start to see where your mistakes come from, ultimately come from the ignorance of karma itself, the ignorance of karma and emptiness itself. That's the real reason why you're making mistakes. Then there's all habitual reasons, where you're attached to suffering and all these kinds of things, right? 3, the restraint force, which is don't do it again. So of course, this is sort of the habitual cognitive therapy, or sort of reprogramming yourself through good habits here. So you need to sort of make a plan. Like, anytime you're sort of trying to restart or recompose yourself, rewrite yourself, take out the psychic eraser and get rid of the bad habits here, we need a whole sort of plan or habitual mechanism, so to speak, to start to plant good seeds, to stop planting the bad seeds and plant the good seeds. So we need a little bit of a plan for this. And what this is, what are the plans for this? Well, when you think about it, what are the restraint force of not wanting to do it? How can you assure that you don't want to do it again, so you don't end up as the classic addict in the intervention with your family, where it's in the Freudian term, fetishism disavowal, right? Where, hey, I know I got a problem. You're exactly right. I knew this long before you guys confronted me. And guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. I'm never going to do this again. And everyone's, oh man, and then of course, the moment later, you're doing it exactly like you were doing it before, right? That's what bad habits are all about. So we have to turn all that around. So how do you do that? And this is vows. Vows. The first part of the 3 higher trainings of your ethical system. Basically, I always joke that Buddhists don't take vows because they don't need to observe vows, right? They're always doing good things. They don't need to promise anyone that they're going to be good, because they are good. They already have all the good habits already. Vows are for dummies like us that keep making mistakes. So vows, it's just like the little advice that you give children, or you're training your dog. We need a system like that to create the good habits that produce the good karma. So in a lot of ways, the restraint force, that's why we have our refuge vows, and we have our bodhisattva vows. And then if we're on the path of Tantra, we have the tantric vows. So the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, and if you're practicing Mother Tantra, to the uncommon commitments to Mother Tantra. So if we remember that, we have there's different components of vows. We have the vows themselves, right? Then we have the downfalls of the vows, right? How do we break them, and what happens when we break them? That's kind of like understanding the karma, the negative karma, breaking the vows in the person. So we have the good habits we're trying to cultivate to become a bodhisattva, to become enlightened. Then we see what happens when we go on the other path and we break the vows, that we're just digging ourselves deeper into samsara. Right. So that's what's interesting. We have the different downfalls, 14 downfalls of root downfalls of Tantra. There's the 11 secondary downfalls of Tantra. There's the 46 secondary downfalls of the Bodhisattva vows. And I believe the 18 root downfalls of the Bodhisattvas. How you break your Tantric vow, how you break your Bodhisattva vow. And then of course, there's the main one, which is the liberation vows, the 5 pratimoksha vows of not killing, not stealing, no sexual misconduct, and no intoxicants, and no lying. So that's a lot about. That's why in a lot of ways, it's always so intimidating. You take tantric empowerments or tantric Buddhism, it's like, oh my God, all these vows. But this is just a habitual mapping. Like we're creating this is the path. Like the true cessations, how do we do true cessations? We know what true origins of our sufferings are. What are true cessations? And basically the true paths. True cessation, getting out of karma. We end up actualizing that or embodying that through true paths. What are the true paths? Our vows. Our vows. So in a lot of ways, the restraint for us is that learning your tantric bodhisattva and pratimoksha or hinayana vows. And as they always say, when you break your tantric vows, you break them all the way down to the bottom. Like the point is your tantric vows, like the golden roof of the temple, ride on your pratimoksha vows. So basically, you're breaking tantric vows, you're breaking all your bodhisattva and pratimoksha vows at the same time. And if you're breaking, so it's, I can't, like dropping something bad on the house where it flattens the house, like you've got it, like squashing the tent, you drop something on a tent and squashes it, or vice versa, where you have a subsidence where you've got a bad foundation of the pratimoksha vows and the whole house falls over. So all the levels of vows are interrelated that way. And then finally, the antidote power, which is that's the actual medicine or the healing, where we do something to make up for it. So that's, again, and one ways of doing that, of course, even with the restraint force, is just even acting, doing your vows. So in other words, we just like when we have the 10 non-virtuous actions, the 10 virtuous actions is not doing the 10 non-virtuous actions. So we have all the things we shouldn't do, but then the antidote is all the good things that we do, all the virtue that we do. And that sort of, again, cleans up the bad karma and planting good seeds. So for instance, antidotes or medicine we can do to purify bad karma is reciting holy names, for instance, the 35 confessional Buddhas, 108 names of Tara, anything, reciting mantras, studying Dharma, reading scriptures, saying prayers, and making offerings to holy beings, and using holy images, making sasas. And I mean, there's a million different ways of doing this. And the two best antidotes would be, you can imagine, number one is offering your practice. That's one of the greatest things you can do, is to all the Buddhas and everything. That's almost the conventional point. It's like, one of the best things I can do is try harder next time, or keep at this. I always say, I've got a few friends that always get Dharma friends. It's like, I'm just a guy. I'm no one special. I'm not like some Lama or one around, but I've got some friends that almost like confess to me their Dharma practice. I'm just, okay, so I'm not your Catholic priest. Don't confess. I can't do anything anyway. You have to purify yourself. But I always say to them, hey, all these, no matter how much you suck, you're still at it. You still haven't quit the Dharma. You are still within the Dharma and you're trying hard. So that's a huge offering to your practice, is that you keep getting up. So there's a great, in one of my Taoist books, he's the guy, I think it's in the Lunar Tao, he's amazing Taoist teacher who wrote these books, but he always says that the key is to keep moving in your practice. And the example he gives is boxers, that even when you're losing, you're in a boxing match or whatever, you go to the Olympics, and by round 2 or 3, you've lost. It's just a matter of time before the guy's gonna knock you out. Everyone knows you suck. Everyone knows you're losing. But what's interesting is your corner still yelling at you. What are they saying? Keep moving. Keep moving. Because when you just stand there, bang, then you're down, right? Or UFC or something. So no matter how hard you suck with all your bad karmic actions, keep at it. Keep moving. Keep getting up and committing to the process. And that's what I say to my friends. It's like, you think you suck, but you, decades later, you're still here, you're still at this. I said, if you really suck, you would have quit Buddhism like 20 years, you wouldn't be doing it. So it's the very fact that you keep getting up and trying is a huge offering to the Buddhas and a huge antidote to all your negativity. That means you're still walking the path that way. And then the final antidote, of course, is meditating on emptiness, which is, of course, the greatest antidote that you can do. There's a huge purification in just doing that. So one thing Geshe Michael always says that's true. Just to conclude here, there's two things. Actually, we should probably, we're getting close to being ended here, but number one is that karmic seeds are sort of in a queue. In other words, the more powerful ones end up ripening sooner. It's like they're being watered and they're being set up. So the little tiny things of whatever having a bit of a negative mind that day is let's say that karma might be staying in your mind for many, many lifetimes, but ones that are really, really strong and triggered either because the action's extremely negative or the object's very powerful. Let's say, you're going to be getting super, super negative towards your Buddhist teacher, your root guru or something. You're really awful to your parents, being really, really mad to the whole really strong holy energy thing. That kind of karma ripens a lot quicker and a lot more powerful. So it ends up, like he always says, it's like planes getting the permission to take off. You're sort of in line for takeoff. The powerful seeds end up going first. So we want the good powerful seeds to be the ones that are taking off or getting sort of ripening first, rather than the negative ones, right? So this is why the karmic power of the 4 opponent powers ends up, what we're doing is sort of selecting, you're purifying bad karma, but you're also causing a lot of positive karma to ripen. So in other words, this sets you in a line, this gives you a foothold to climb out of the hole that you're in, which is really, really great. This is also the power of doing vows, right? So this is a good thing to know. And one of the best ways of doing this is to always meditate, again, on karma and emptiness. Always have this in your mind, because this is, the more you reflect on this, it's kind of like the foundation force. The more you're ripening positive karma and eliminating the bad karma, the more you're selecting the positive seeds to ripen first, setting back the real strong negative seeds, and eventually kind of burn them out. What Geshe Michael was saying too is that, like this is an Abhidharma Kosha, is that doing purification even doesn't get rid of a seed. You can damage it or burn it to an extent that even when it ripens, the negative result isn't that bad. So I remember whenever I started the Dharma, when Vajrasattva's first a lot of teachings in the 1990s, there's this, oh, you get rid of all your bad karma. And then you had a lot of really good practitioners say, well, technically what happens, like if you've done lots of Vajrasattva practice, negative karma is still ripening, but it's not as bad. So the point is, and you'll notice this, the more purification you do, bad things still happen to you in your life, but somehow they're not as bad as they should be, or as bad. It's because your mind's getting purified and you do it, right? So, it's the difference between, like, let's say, you still get cancer, but the chemo works, or you get sick and, oh my God, I was sick, I had COVID for 6 months, and then the karma might have been that COVID was supposed to kill you or something. So you can see how you're literally remedying the situation by changing the karmic seeds that way. So that's that's sort of the end, and the karma ripens with the lesser result here. And the big thing is that I think that this is important from a Madhyamika Prasangika point of view, is see on a deep level of emptiness how this is all about labeling things. Okay, like I want just sort of like this whole process at any moment, see its illusory character, right? This is, so it's interesting, that alone lessens the karma too. If I can sort of, I want to sort of say this in the right way, but one thing Lama Zopa Rinpoche stresses a lot is that anytime you do good karma, focus on the bliss and being happy when you're doing it. But he also says that it's two things I just wanted to say, is that one thing Geshe Michael always said is that when he talked to his students, they would do everything, the 4 foundation powers, they do everything except the antidote. So they say, okay, like I'm going to purify something. I know I've done something bad. I promise to do something good, but they wouldn't do anything positive to act. Not picking on them, because I mean, I'm the same way. I don't want to sort of make fun of anybody, but I'm just saying that really make sure that you're planting a good seed or doing something good with the purification. So the confessional part isn't enough. Do something to make up for it. And then what Lama Zopa always said is that it's actually the planting the seed of the experience of you doing the good thing. Like focus on you witnessing the confessional part, witnessing in your mind, seeing it, being aware, planting the seed, kind of the visual labeling of it, even just sort of seeing, having the regret, and then doing the positive thing. Because ironically, it's the labeling and the experiential part that stamps the karma. Okay, so it's almost like what they always, like for instance in therapy, this is in like when I studied Lacanian psychoanalysis, and through university and stuff like that. One thing, Jacques Lacan, famous French, Freudian always said, the cure is in the symbolic, not the imaginary. What he meant is that you need a social register for you to heal. You need other people witnessing your healing. It's not you and your self-image that allows you to get over stuff. There has to be the ethical register of other people calling you on your shit, but also witnessing you doing it to set boundaries of how you will change yourself to get better, but also for you to be accountable to them, right? That's what so the more ethical you are, the more healthy you are in your life, right? This is sort of the Hegelian part of the sort of neo-Freudian school, right? Of recognition of others on the ethical level. So what I'm saying with this is that that's why we have a teacher, a guru, and that's why we have other people. It's other people, sentient beings and the Buddhas that help us get enlightened. So the four opponent powers here, have them, there's the witnesses. The Buddhas are your witness. It's almost like your higher self too. All sentient beings are the reason you're doing this. So it's like we're all witnessing this self-education or self-perfection of you on your path. And that's what really, really makes the karma set. That's what makes the cake set when you take it out of the oven and leave it and let it set. I hope that makes sense. I hope that, I'm not too sure if I sort of expressed that properly, but anyway. Okay, sorry, I went over a few minutes here. So let's end it on there. There's a million things to say. So I will say, if we want to do a later date, one thing Geshe Michael taught for years that I really like, I go through periods where I really do it, then I haven't done it in a while, where he said in the old Kadampa system, and again, I promise I'm going to shut up in a minute here because this could be another hour on this, but what Atisha taught his students 1,000 years ago, and you had it with all these old Kadampas, is the four opponent powers. Again, this is not just crawling out of my hole. I'm purifying things and planting good seeds. I'm really embodying the path and living it through this practice. Like, this is how I'm becoming a Buddhist. This is how I'm a Buddhist publicly. So being a Kadampa means I'm living a life of sincerity, a practice of mind transformation, compassion, wisdom by observing karma and emptiness. So this is how to be a Kadampa. In other words, I'm a sincere practitioner. I'm really trying to live the Dharma through this process. So what he said is, at the end of the day, you might have heard about, you have a little bag of dark stones and white stones. So you put them on the table before your bed and you say, how many good things did I do today? How many bad things did I do today, right? Whatever, I yelled at somebody as being, I just found myself being super negative, or I did all these good things today. Let's analyze this. Let me purify the bad stuff. Let me strengthen the good stuff. So on a habitual level, it's kind of like my own self-therapy where I'm checking in on myself. So what Geshe Michael suggests, he called the book, where you have all your vows and then you go over them every day, or some of them, and you map it all out. And I've always said this is the best practice. Ironically, one of my Dharma friends had said that this, she felt, was the highest tantric practice you could ever do, which is keeping your vows. Of course, that's all Tantra is about, right? So we have to know what our vows are to know if we're actually upholding them, but also, like I always say, know the ones that we're always breaking statistically. And I always say 90% of the vows you're keeping, the 10% are your whole psychoanalytic profile. The ones that you're always breaking show you the kind of person that you are, right? Well, I mean, the good ones show you what the kind of person you are too, but I'm just saying, if you want to see your Jungian dark side, find out the vows that you consistently break. And then you see that what you do is you see the reasons why you're breaking them. And it's always childhood trauma. I mean, there's always very deep sort of emotional, personal reasons why we constantly make those mistakes. And then that's where you target your healing. Those are the cancer cells that you target the radiation or chemo to. You don't put oh, I've got lung cancer. Well, let's blast your brain with the radiation, right? That you target the practice to the stuff that you're making mistakes from. So we could do a whole course just on that, on vows and what that are, and see maybe sometime in the future. But I just want to end on that here, on the four opponent powers here, and how we tie this to some sort of a practice of reflection and charting your vows. Otherwise, this can just kind of be, oh yeah, great, I'll do it sometime, right? Okay, sorry, but I that's a big topic there. I did want to sort of have it again, and this marks the last class of this course. So let's just take a moment to dedicate all of this. Again, may all of our good work here and study be towards really understanding the link of karma and emptiness. They're one and the same thing. And all of our efforts may they be put towards the enlightenment, awakening of all sentient beings. Okay, so I'll record the next class, and then on first year, we'll have the review class. Let me just press stop here. Okay, thank you for coming.